Welcome to Real Leaders with Roshini, the podcast with real talk, real questions, real insight, and we hope real inspiration for real. We're at Capitol Grill in downtown Minneapolis. My guest today is Steele Smiley. He is CEO and founder of Crispy and Green, and he's a builder of brands worldwide. Steele, so much I want to talk with you about today, but let's start with 2013. You sold your signature fitness, Steele Fitness, to the world's largest privately held wellness company. That's got to feel good for someone who started something, grew it, and then was in that position.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. And the reality of it was we were not the biggest when I was purchased, but we were in terms of size when I left. So it was a really great experience. And, anytime you sell a brand, it's a big deal. When you sell a brand that has your name attached to it, it's a whole new level of meaning. And it was a really great experience, and I learned an incredible amount of what to do and what not to do. So I'm glad it's behind me.
Fitness is a passion of yours, and was that kind of what led you into that brand?
I've always loved the fitness business. I was a college athlete, swimmer, and I always loved being active, and I thought I wanted to do that for the rest of my life. And I was proud to be a part of what I didn't realize at the time was the start of the boutique fitness movement. So we started Steele Fitness before there was SoulCycle, before there was Orange Theory, before any of the concepts you see today. So, looking back now 10 years later, or 14 years later, many credit, my concept is one of those early brands in the space, which was, at the time I didn't know, but looking back, it's a lot more significant now, which is exciting to think about that I was ahead of the curve.
What were some of the pitfalls that you learned from?
I learned hundreds of lessons in that experience. I would say that the top two or three is that you can never be. It's important to enter into business being properly capitalized. You start passion projects, they become your business, and sometimes they take on new life, and you need to do new things, and you need to make sure that you have the financial ability to continue to do that. So we were very fortunate that we figured it out along the way, but we certainly didn't start it that way. I started it with, I think I had $760 in my bank account or something. So it was a really great learning experience. And the second thing is you got to be flexible. You never know what's coming around the bend. And I think my business model changed about 5 times over the course of that 7 or 8 years. So you have to be flexible. You have to adapt. You have to understand that whatever you started with might not be what you end with, and stay open-minded.
How important is it for you as the founder to be a really powerful brand ambassador and spokesperson for the brand?
I think not all founders are brand ambassadors. And I think sometimes we mistake founders as they all have to be that voice. I certainly loved being that voice. And it's very interesting. I've been the voice at Steele, but I have not been the voice in what I do now. So, I've kind of taken both roles, which I think is very, very, very interesting. But if you are going to be the ambassador, you need to, constantly promote the brand and make sure that what you're doing for yourself completely aligns with that brand. If you're in the fitness business, it's probably good to stay, healthy, wellness oriented, make good choices. It has to be aligned. And oftentimes brand founders who speak passionately about their brand are not necessarily aligned with what they're doing. I think it's very important, if you're going to be in that position, you completely align with that mission.
You have done business in more than 30 countries.
Yeah.
That has got to be, first of all, really cool,
yeah, thanks.
but also challenging.
Yeah, when I sold Steele, we had, the company that purchased me, I think, was operating in 4 countries at the time. So I had 0 international experience, and in order for that company to be successful, which I ended up, helping grow that company in a significant way, I had to learn the international language, not just the language, obviously, but the culture. And I realized that, there's nothing better than to just immerse yourself in the cultures and travel and meet the people and figure it out. And so we were successful for a lot of ways, but what made it most successful is that as Americans, we tend to believe that, we can go into any country, bring our concepts into those countries, and they're going to love everything we do because we're Americans. And the reality of it is, we were successful because I adapted all of the concepts that I took internationally for the international market. They were designed different, they looked different, some of the branding was different, because every market is not like the U.S. and U.S. brands tend to struggle internationally sometimes because, we think whatever we do here is going to be great. And
so you really customized.
You have to. You have to, because everyone's unique. Their needs are different in every country, which is, I think, it was a great learning experience. And I had that gut instinct, and I did it, and it worked. And during the time, I think I opened, 20, 24, 25 different countries, and took brands international. I think I started with roughly 1,200 stores, the company that purchased me, and I think I left with roughly 2,500 in development or built. And that's quite the run in 4 years.
Was it really terrific for you to stay on after they purchased you? Or was that a little bit of a change that took a while to get used to?
It's like a culture shock. You run into a business and you spend 7 or 8 years in something you created, and then you walk into someone else's environment, and kind of two things happen. Either you completely mold yourself to the new environment, or you or it doesn't work, because as a strong-minded founder, very rarely can you be acquired, go into the new corporation. You hear the stories all the time. The founders never make it, and they're too headstrong. And I realized I had to completely change the way I was thinking, behaving, everything in order to make it in another person's culture. So that's what I did. I changed the car I drove to work every day.
You took that really seriously.
Oh, I took it totally seriously. I think I had to downgrade my lifestyle to be able to feel like I could be a part of a brand that was offering products at $30 a month versus my product that was $1,000 a month. So if you can imagine, the person that delivers that service might have a little different style than the person who delivers a product with $30.
So you were like Christian Bale. You had to lose a bunch of weight or gain weight for the role, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I changed the way I looked. I changed the way I dressed. I think I drove a Mini Cooper to work. And
you're tall, so that was probably tough.
Yeah, and it was, you just sold your company, for what for me was a significant amount of money, and then you realize that you need to kind of change your entire version of who you are to make it successful. But you kind of play the character and you play the role, and
that was you being the brand ambassador that you needed to be.
That's exactly right. And then you go international, and you have to be a different person because they love the fashion and the style, especially in London. We opened and sold 225 stores in a year and open them through franchising. So, they love all that. So you kind of, have to play multiple hats, and you have to be emotionally intelligent enough to know when to play which role.
Why did you decide to take on Crisp and Green? Still within that healthy lifestyle, but now food.
Yeah. I didn't really have a choice. I had two kind of macro factors happening in my life. The first of which was I wasn't eating that often. I was working an incredible amount. I'd always sort of preach this idea that you need to eat healthy and feel better. But I needed, I needed an outlet to probably be able to be healthy. And so I figured, what better way to do that than to build a restaurant chain. I had no idea the challenges that would go along with that. And the second thing was I couldn't be in fitness. I'd sold my company. I'd worked for a global chain, as a top executive. And so I was out, contractually out of the fitness business for a while. So I had to do something different, and it's an adjacent space. To me, it's still health and wellness. So I felt positive about it. And, I'm very fortunate that it worked.
That's great. So what's the future of Crisp and Green? You're Minnesota based now, but you have big plans for it.
Yeah. With Crisp and Green, I didn't build the chain for global domination. I think when I started that way with Steele Fitness, you have this idea that, you're going to go from step 1 to 2 to 10. But Crisp and Green, I'm really focused on making sure my Minnesota stores work and work great, and we deliver a great service every day.
Really learning from that.
I think that's really important. And at this stage of my career, I want to make sure I do A first before you go to B, before you go to C. I think sometimes as a young entrepreneur, you tend to go from 1 to 100 real quick. And although I think sometimes that works, oftentimes that youthful exuberance doesn't pay off. And so, for us, it's making sure that the guests can come and have a great experience every single day, have an amazing meal. If it's not perfect, we're going to make it perfect for you. We're so fortunate that people love the brand in Minnesota, and you go anywhere, you say, hey, people, I'm a part of Crisp and Green, and first question is, wow, how are you a part? I've never even heard you be a part of it. And the second question is, wow, I love it, tell me what's coming. So it's a great brand to be a part of.
And it's nice to sort of be a little more behind the scenes, it sounds like, with this brand.
I think the Steele Experience, I was so in front for so many years that you realize that, you don't have to live that way all the time. And I'm not sure in this season of life, it made sense for me to be in public. And I also don't know whether people would have believed that, I think my story is so unique. You go young entrepreneur, $0, you build a chain, you sell it. And then you actually end up running, a global company, which that kind of never happens. Founders never actually end up being an executive. And then you leave and you join a restaurant chain, you start it, and then it works. I mean, it's so non-linear that I think people might have had trouble believing that Steele was behind a restaurant chain until it worked. And then I said, yeah, I built it.
Yeah, then you can really take that little layer of ownership. I know the two passion projects of yours are your children. What have they taught you?
They've taught me a million things. I mean, I really spend a lot of time focusing on their activities and their life. And I think the flexibility of an entrepreneur allows me to be there and be present and, pick my son up from school or take my daughter to dance, and be available and be present. And I think, Steele 5 years ago or 10 years ago would be checking his phone and, not present, not in the moment. But today, it's phone in the car. I'm focused on them and making sure that they have the best day possible, and they know their dad loves them more than earth. So, it's really important that they understand that I'm focused exclusively on them when I'm with them. And I think as humans, I think we tend to be multifaceted and multidimensional in all of our relationships. I mean, when's the last time you really sat down, aside from right now where we're focused exclusively on each other? People don't do that anymore, and I think that they should. And they've helped me learn that trick.
What is one of your favorite things to do with the two of them?
We have wild adventures. I mean, this last weekend we did horseback riding. Took them on a whole bunch of different adventures. So I'm always getting new ideas and things I can do with them. At this point, my daughter's into she's a ballerina, extremely talented, and my son is a great athlete. So we're focused on doing all those things together, and whatever they love to do is what I love to do, and keep push them to be the best they can be, and know their dad loves them more than earth.
If there were a theme song to Steele Smiley's life, what would it be?
A theme song, that's a really great question. I don't know if I know the answer to that. I think I tend to operate less with less transparency than I used to do. In the sense of, I probably could tell you the song that I would listen to or the thing I would do, and right now it's really about letting the brands I'm associated with grow and lead the way, and let them shine versus the person. So I'm not sure I would put a theme song on myself more than I put on the things I do.
One of the quotes I love that you've said is, I dream something and then I go build it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I truly believe everybody has it in them. I tend to, if I have a dream or if I believe something, I know I can go build it. And I just don't let rules or regulations or preconceived ideas get in the way. And that's tough to do when you get older, and it's tough to do when you have resources, because it's easy when you have nothing to live that way. But as you continue to grow and in your career and in life with kids, and it is tough to keep waking up and having that hunger, but I'm able to do it.
On that note, thanks so much. Such a pleasure chatting with you, getting a little bit more of your story, Steele.
Until next time, keep it real.